And Kim, it's take it away, darling. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Brownie, and good evening to everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the fourth session. Tonight is all about reincarnation. Reincarnation, the law of karma, and also life after death and what happens there, and how all of those things actually play the roles or play out in our current lifetime as we know it today. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen and then we'll get underway. Okay, let's have a little bit of a recap on the last session. So last session we had a look at thought. We took a bit of a not really a deep dive, but it was just a surface dive really into thoughts and thought forms, egregores, and how thoughts are the foundation of absolutely everything. So we looked at thought forms, what they actually look like, how they impacted not just us in the non-physical, but the physical, and also those who are around us. We looked at how repeated thoughts manifest into our reality, how they imprint in our non-physical bodies, making it easier to slip into an emotional state. We looked at how to create and manifest through thought, and most importantly, how important it is to be conscious of our thoughts all of the time. So before we start, I just want to mention this. This journey of self-discovery, as most of you will be aware, is not an easy one. And it's certainly not for the faint-hearted. It really is about learning who you are, how you're made up, and the parts that you've played in your own life and in others. And it's truly, truly about accepting the roles that you have had in your life events. When we look at the experiences we've had, quite often it comes with pain. Sometimes it's difficult to know what to do with that. But this whole journey, the reason for this series, is about helping you understand that whilst there is pain, it's not a space that you need to live in. It's about understanding the process of life and how that pain was created. The lessons that those experiences have given you, which in turn will help you to transcend the physical pain that you feel. It's about becoming an objective observer of your own life. It's integrating the lessons. It's growing your souls for your journey, and then passing on that knowledge to those who wish to learn. So this series is really just one way. As we know, there are many that will give you foundations, that will give you tools, and hopefully you'll come away from this with a much deeper understanding of how you're made up, how your lessons have come about, how you've been co-creators of those, and how you can transcend them. So as I said before, this session, law of karma, reincarnation, life after death, and of course the tools to help you move forward. I just want to start with a little bit of a quote from Edgar Cayce. He said, "We were created as spiritual beings, children of God, born of his desire for companionship to become co-creators with Source. We were given minds to build, wills to choose, and access to the Spirit, the one great force of all that is. We were perfect from the day of our creation." So in the beginning, we were able to move freely through other densities and dimensions. In our movement through the universe as a wave of souls, we came upon the manifestation of the earth plane. We saw and were attracted to and projected our consciousness into an ongoing evolutionary development of life. The earth was good and beautiful, but we were not intended to invest our consciousness in it to such an extent that we would forget our freedom or forget our heritage and lose our ability to move about freely. Through the pride and expansion of ego, we made a rebellious turn of spirit by making a succession of choices which were not in harmony with universal laws. We built limiting thought patterns, and by these thoughts, we encased ourselves in lower and lower dimensions of consciousness. Our entrapment on earth was not at all due to the evil nature of flesh, but rather to the limiting effect of our own thought forms and desire patterns. We wanted to have the feelings, the thoughts, and the desires that come with being human, and that's perfectly okay. But we were never meant to forget who we are. By forgetting who we truly are and becoming immersed in the feelings, thoughts, and desires of the human experience, we unknowingly set ourselves on a path governed by the law of karma. Each action, intention, and attachment created energetic imprints, drawing us into a cycle of cause and effect that spans literally lifetimes. This cycle, that which we know as reincarnation, is not a punishment, but a journey of our soul's exploration of duality and choice. Okay, so let's get into the law of karma. Now, it's really important that we just go through a little bit of the law of karma so that it sets the foundations of the reincarnation process and why it is so. So in the words of Yogananda, the universal law of karma is that of action and reaction, cause and effect, sowing and reaping. In the course of natural righteousness, man, by his thoughts and actions, becomes the arbiter of his destiny. So in many of the esoterical teachings, karma is understood as a universal law of cause and effect, and it governs all planes of existence, not just this physical plane that we are on. It reflects the natural balance of energy. Every thought, every emotion, every action, every intention generates a corresponding consequence. This isn't punishment or reward, and I will repeat this a number of times through this session, but it's a mechanism of soul learning and balance, of growth, of spiritual evolution. The soul incarnates into the physical world to evolve, experience, and remember its divine nature through contrast, thought, and duality. Each time we act out of alignment with universal laws, like love or truth, we create this energetic imprint, karma, that must be resolved to restore balance within ourselves and with others. These unresolved patterns don't always play out in one lifetime, which is where reincarnation comes in. The law of karma presents us with an opportunity to know source in everything that we think, feel, and do. It is a law that none of us can escape. We've all heard the term, we reap what we sow. If we sow a little good, we reap a little good. If we sow a little evil, we reap a little suffering, and so on. This will sometimes occur immediately. And given that the frequency is rising on this planet here, the effects or the consequences or karma coming back, good or bad, is actually in an accelerated process right now. Sometimes it will be this lifetime. Sometimes it may be other lifetimes. But always, sooner or later, like produces like, and we reap what we sow. The circumstances of your life are invariably the outcome of your choices and your actions, either in this lifetime or in previous lives. No matter what mistakes we may have made that we view as mistakes in the past, or what opportunities we may believe that we have wasted, we can overcome them all right now, remembering that our future stretches out to infinity. So it is never, ever too late. Quite often we hear people say that they must have bad karma, intonating that karma is a punishment, but that is not so. It's an opportunity to learn. It's like if you touch a red hot stove, you'll burn your finger, right? It'll hurt, but we don't consider that a punishment. It's a natural consequence of touching a hot object. It's one that will teach us not to touch the hot stove again. The same is true for every lesson that you have in your life. So it is with all natural retribution. We suffer because there is a lesson to learn. When the lesson is learnt, the ill consequences cease, for nature is never vindictive. We all go through pain in our life. We all find we have different situations where It may not be pleasant to go through. Once we transcend those, though, the amount of growth that we receive from going through that pain is like nothing else that we could have done to actually get that lesson. Suffering brings growth. Suffering brings learning, should you choose it to. So without the soul experiencing suffering, mental, physical, or spiritual, there's no expansion of consciousness, no growth from the unconscious to being self-conscious, and then onwards to Christ consciousness. Until the soul experiences suffering, it remains unconscious of the suffering of his brother and is therefore unable to administer healing. When you walk in the shoes of suffering, not only do you learn valuable lessons for yourself, but you also gain compassion, love, and understanding. An integration of a lesson means that you can walk in another person's shoes without judgment. Each life we live is like a chapter in a much longer story, with you being the author every time. The soul returns again and again, often with the same soul groups, to work through themes of love, forgiveness, power, fear, and so much more. It means that you co-create your life plan or karmic blueprint for certain relationships, key events or lessons, and you provide opportunities to repay or release karma. Your higher self always guides you, regardless of whether you're conscious of it or not. It guides you towards karmic encounters to best facilitate healing and evolution. In essence, karma fuels reincarnation, and reincarnation offers the path to transcend karma. So what is reincarnation? I just want to start by saying that people are not born free and equal. We're created free and equal. Each and every one of us are created free and equal, but we are not born this way. It's a very, very different thing. Even the Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal. So all souls were created with the same potential to express and have access to the same qualities, could all go down the same life path if they chose. However, we have all made different choices, meaning that we are born with our own individual purpose, our own journey, and our own lessons to learn. And that's the difference of being born free and equal and created free and equal. So why is there inequality if God is love and all-powerful? The answer lies in the fact that this is not the only life that we have lived many, many times before. So in the course of these many lives, we have thought, said, done all sorts of things, positive and negative. The circumstances into which we are born are the natural outcome of the way in which we have lived and conducted ourselves in our former lives. We are reaping today, for good or bad, the results of the seeds that we have sown yesterday. The soul is a divine spark. It is consciousness itself that incarnated on earth and in other realms to experience different lessons, different emotions, different situations, all with the view to enhance our soul's spirituality, our soul's growth. So through many incarnations, the soul gathers wisdom, giving you the chance to integrate and refine spiritual virtues, the virtues of love, patience, courage, humility, and so on, to heal emotional wounds and distorted thought patterns, with the ultimate goal of reconnecting to the higher self. So an incarnation of a life is just that one page in our book of infinity. This life is one page in our book of infinity. It's quite a daunting thought when you actually sit down and think about it like that. And hopefully we'll bring some things into perspective as we move along in this session. Think of it like going to school. And let's compare the soul's growth process to that of a child starting in school and progressing through to college. So the younger child starting in grade 1 has none or very few choices And the younger soul also often doesn't make very good choices, as these are based on habits, emotions, and beliefs. The child goes through the primary school stages, increasing his knowledge, and so it is also with the soul. Soul begins to gain some experience as it moves along through a lifetime or several lifetimes. In high school, our choices have increased. And in comparison, the soul has also become older and has more control. The more that it learns, the more that it experiences, the more that it integrates. By this time, you can, for example, choose your parents, can make decisions based on the intellect and not purely based on the emotion, which is what a younger soul would do. Why would it do that? Because the younger soul is primarily working from the subconscious or the inner child. It hasn't grown up enough to make those conscious decisions. Person might go to college or university and then eventually graduates. And the soul, in comparison, with increased choices, increased knowledge, can also graduate. In Judeo-Christian religion, for example, this graduation is called resurrection. Now, that will happen over many, 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 many lifetimes of learning. So the soul's journey is a gradual integration of knowledge, learning slowly from experience or rapidly through study, meditation, and dedicated practices. It really is up to you. We live life after life until we are grown up enough spiritually to know our true essence and to transcend the need to continue the reincarnation process of this planet, at which point, generally, we will choose to go somewhere else, to carry on our learning on a higher density, always evolving the soul. So the process of reincarnation is a growth of the soul, always expanding in consciousness. Each life offers new experiences, new lessons, new opportunities to evolve, heal emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. Or sometimes several lifetimes might offer you the same experience. Depends on how quickly you learn. It's about learning and expanding love, always moving closer to our highest potential with each returned life. When a soul learns, it ripples upwards. Every insight that you have, every act of love, every breakthrough contributes to the growth of the collective group, planetary consciousness, and then ultimately up to Source itself. So through each of us, Source experiences, it learns, and expands. So what we're saying here is that everything that you do, every lesson that you have, everything that you learn, all of the knowledge that you integrate is not just for you. It actually is almost like a tier system if you want to think of it that way. You learn, you integrate. That knowledge then transcends up to your soul group. And on a level, they learn, they integrate. And then it will go up to a next level until it gets to Source, which is also learning from your experience. Your experience gives an expansion to Source. So the inner child or subconscious part of ourselves, as we know, is the living, emotional, and responsive part of ourselves. It holds not only the memories of our current life, but also the energetic imprints and emotional experiences from all past lives. These imprints include trauma, personal or ancestral, unresolved karmic patterns, emotional charges related to guilt, fear, anger, or betrayal, vows, oaths, contracts made in the past, and attachments to people or places. So all of these things are imprinted in our subtle bodies, into our subconscious mind. So our inner child records everything. And we've gone over that before. Even what the conscious mind forgets. It is deeply impressionable, and it stores that information as emotionally charged energy. It's very critical to understand this because it's the emotional content that anchors the karmic memory. It continues to influence our present experiences and will remain so until we've dealt with the emotions that go with it. So whatever experiences that you have had in past lives, even in this current lives, gets remembered by the subconscious as an emotional charge, as an emotional energy. Until you have actually learned and integrated the lesson that goes along with that particular emotional charge or energy, then that is going to remain with you until you do. So even though the memory is reset at birth, our inner child or our subconscious continues to replay these patterns until they're acknowledged, they're understood and healed. And some of these patterns might manifest as your reoccurring life themes or struggles. So you're attracting the same sort of relationships or being stuck in the cycle of lack, for example. Remembers phobias and intense fears with no apparent cause. Now, I'll tell you a story about this. There was a lady in a seminar who had I don't even know what the word is, a massive, massive, massive fear of the ocean. And there was absolutely no reason for this fear. She could never understand it, to the point where she couldn't even go near the ocean. She actually did a past life regression in this particular seminar and found that she was one of the ones that was on the Titanic and had gone down with the ship. That then explained her unrealistic, because that's what it was, fear of the ocean. So sometimes these cycles or fears or struggles or whatever can be carried over from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime until we can figure it out and until we can get to the bottom of it. Now, it's not important that you have to remember the past life. It's about transcending the emotion that goes with the event. So some people might incarnate with unexplained physical issues linked to past life traumas, like a persistent pain or a scar in an area where a fatal wound was experienced in another life. Now, in my personal experience, I know this to be true. So when I was 14, I had my first past life experience. I'd not long before had a motorbike accident, which has resulted in this scar on my forehead here. And also, you will have noticed I have a lazy eye. And I have not much vision in that eye. So I was listening to a memory tape actually for school for my year 12 stuff. Or not year 12, it must have been year 10. It didn't have the effect of the memory that I was expecting. It actually brought up a past life memory, funny enough. And I found myself in a past life where I was actually shot. And where I was shot in that life is where I have the scar on my head today. My dad in this incarnation was also in that past life. And he was shot through the chin. And I didn't know it at the time, but he has a scar under his chin in this lifetime with from a trampoline accident. Now, funny enough, as time went on with that, things started to unfold, and I knew the person who, in this lifetime, was the shooter in that lifetime, and he could not do enough for our family. He was quite close to us, and anything that he could do for us, he would. And that was his karmic ties, which were being balanced out and brought into harmony from that previous life. So other things are strong emotional reactions or intuitive aversions to certain people, places, or culture. It could very well mean that you have had experiences in past lives that are actually manifesting in your current life today. So the subconscious will continue to loop these patterns until they're brought to the surface and consciously cleared. Now, as I mentioned before, you don't have to see the past life. It's talking about consciously clearing the emotional attachment or the fear or the phobia or whatever it is that is associated with that situation. But on the flip side of this, there's many attributes which we carry over from past lives, which are positive, like artistic or musical talents, sportsmanship, green fingers, flying a plane. There was a story of a little boy who All he ever wanted to be was a pilot. And he actually saw his past life, and he was the pilot of the B-52. He knew the number of that plane. He knew where it went down. He'd never seen this child was, I think, 5 or 6 years old. So he'd never heard a story about it, never knew anything about it. He knew his name in that life. He knew his counterparts in that life, everything. But you've also got geniuses like Mozart and Einstein. They will have spent many lifetimes with their skills and therefore appear to be a genius when, for example, Mozart at the age of 4 started composing music. So those attributes have carried over lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And in essence, the experience of all our past lives and all of the things that we have learned will always be with us. So why can't we remember? Now, this is a question that gets asked all of the time, and there's a number of reasons for this. Well, we can if we know how. But from the soul's perspective, forgetting who we are, our past lives, our divine nature, and our cosmic origins, it's not a failure or a flaw. So in this third dimensional plane, it's a purposeful veil. It's an integral part of the incarnational journey. So in many, many esoteric teachings, spiritual amnesia is what they call it, serves specific evolutionary, energetic, and psychological functions. So when a soul incarnates into a physical body, it passes through a veil of forgetfulness, facilitated by your subconscious, your inner child, which then takes over the management of memory and emotional patterning, while the conscious self, the you that's sitting here listening, becomes focused on navigating this present life. This veil exists so that we have a clean slate for each lifetime, allowing true free will to unfold without burdening ourselves with past identities. If we remembered every soul who hurt us or helped us in a past life, there is a very, very real possibility that we would approach relationships with judgment, with fear, or with some other emotion, which then distorts our ability to be able to heal whatever it is that we need to heal. We may try to manipulate outcomes based on past events, and we would carry the weight of unresolved emotions without clarity if we remembered. Forgetting allows relationships to unfold organically. You're drawn to people through intuitive feeling, not mental memory. The emotional energy stored in the subconscious, however, you're given the chance to respond differently and hopefully restoring harmony, hopefully coming from a place of love and compassion. Hopefully your soul has grown enough to have integrated those lessons. We also don't want to overwhelm the conscious mind with thousands of years experience. And here's why. We've lived in all different ages, different conditions, and in different civilizations. We've been kings, queens, peasants, slaves, men, women, mothers, fathers, and so on and so on. We've held many different careers, and we've been many different races. We've done things which are virtuous, but we will have done things which could be considered evil. When we look at the way we handle our present life trauma, how much we hold on to the past of our actions, of our experiences, how we are a victim or a tormentor, and how we struggle to let go of these things and learn these lessons, is it any wonder that we don't remember? Imagine if you saw a life where you were doing unspeakable things to somebody. How would you cope? If we have difficulty in dealing with the trauma that has been created in our current lives, then we are not giving ourselves the opportunity to actually heal those. If we have many, many different lifetimes coming in on top of that, adding more trauma, because remembering we remember what we have done. It takes reaching a certain level of consciousness to be able to detach and look at things we have done in this current life and integrate the lessons, let alone the things that we have done in our past. What most people struggle with is that all of our actions and reactions of today, all of our experiences, and all of our thoughts are of our own co-creation. If we're unable to deal with these things in our current life, how could we expect ourselves to cope with what we have done in previous? Rest assured, though, as you carry on your spiritual journey, past experiences may very well present themselves. At least the emotional attachment to those past experiences will, but sometimes the experience itself will be present. So, just as we carry our previous energetic patterns, most people return again and again with familiar souls, forming what is often referred to as what you called it before, Brownie, as a soul group or a soul family, or some know it as a karmic pod. So these connections are deeply purposeful and form the foundation of much of our karmic learning, healing, and spiritual evolution. Often the parent will become the child, the brother will become the father, and each time we play our role to assist in the spiritual development of the soul and the soul group. The law of cause and effect often governs these soul relationships. So when intense emotional experiences occur, especially when harm, betrayal, abandonment, trauma, or any of those things happen, they create strong karmic bonds. These ties often mean unfinished business will be given the opportunity to be resolved in future lifetimes. Sometimes that'll be the reversal of roles, i.e., victim becomes a perpetrator, giving both the opportunity to learn and grow through both sides of the fence. Until the relationship has found harmony, the loop will continue to manifest lifetime after lifetime. It is so important in all current relationships to find forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others, releasing blame and transmuting that emotion into love, working from that higher perspective and transforming codependence or control to respect and acceptance. This is why it is so, so important that we do this inner work so that we understand who we are, how we got here, what role we've played, and we're able to see from that higher perspective what others in our lives are doing. So while karmic ties draw people back together again, healing allows for completion. When the lessons learned, the pattern is dissolved, meaning that souls may move on separately in future incarnations. They may reunite from a higher level of love and freedom, and they may serve together in a more conscious, aligned way in another incarnation. When you heal, when you forgive, or you shift a relationship dynamic in this life, this change ripples backwards and forwards through your whole lifetimes, past, present, and future. Relationship healing is such a powerful tool in spiritual growth because as you change the field for all connected souls. It's extremely powerful. Healing yourself is an extremely powerful tool, not just for you, but for all of those who are connected to you. Okay, so let's just have a look at what happens when we die. So the physical body in this density will invariably wear out and we move on to the next stage of our journey. There are many, many, many books written about near-death experiences and the processes that people go through. When we move on from the physical body, it is very well documented that we're often met with one's loved ones that have passed on, and they help us with our transition out of our body. Passing through a tunnel of light, we transition through a series of stages that help the soul process its most recent incarnation. And one of the most important stages of this is the life review. Now, I just want to mention here that I'm quite sure that most of you here are aware that of the energetic grid and other substances that have been used to entrap souls to this planetary existence. We can have a discussion about that later. What it doesn't do is change the process of the soul's journey. So I just want to say that we can, if you do have questions about that, or if you're looking at and going, well, you know, things are kind of different now, we can talk about that a little at the end of the session, if you like. So the soul's transition from the physical body to the conscious self and the higher self reconnects with the broader memory and the soul's intelligence. And this sets the stage for reflection and integration. You view your life like a holographic movie. This is your life review. It's not just the events themselves, but how every word, every thought, every choice, every action, and every reaction affected others. Everything from major life events, from seemingly minor moments that carried emotional weight or didn't carry emotional weight, unspoken thoughts or motivations, and the ripple effect of your actions on others. You don't just see all of these events, you feel it. You feel all of the emotions from all of those that you have affected, both joyous and both harmful. If you cause someone pain, you'll experience that pain as if you were them. If you uplifted someone, you will feel the joy you gave them. These emotions will be amplified tenfold. From all of the accounts of people who have had life reviews, it is painful, it is joyous, but it is 100% done in love. You will never do this life review alone, but who guides you? So depending on your tradition, your guides may very well be, well, your higher self will always be involved. That's the all-knowing, loving aspect of your being, your connection to source. Spirit guides or elders may accompany you through reflection, or ascended masters or light beings who radiate presences will help contextualize your experiences. There is no judgment during this process. There is only clarity, perspective, and unconditional love. There is no shame or punishment. You are simply helped to see, to understand, to integrate, and to grow. This review, this life review, is not about condemnation. It is a sacred process of self-realization. So the purpose of it helps you to understand what you came through in this incarnation to learn and whether you've achieved it. Helps you to see the interconnectedness of life by feeling how others have felt by your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. And it's important to note that it is not just the physical actions, it is also your thoughts. It gives you the ability to see the interconnectedness, what your words, what your ideas, what your processes do, and the impact that they have on others, and how interconnected that is with you. Helps you to recognize unfinished lessons, unresolved karma, or patterns of distortion. It gets you to appreciate the beauty of even the smallest acts of kindness, and it helps you integrate emotional residues held by your inner child or your subconscious. It truly gives you the opportunity to integrate the lessons into the subconscious so that you have a greater opportunity to not repeat the same mistakes in the next incarnation. Now, for me, this section here in particular is extremely powerful. If someone does something to you, think about your reaction to them. Think about it from the perspective and know that they are going to be the only judge and jury of their actions and their reactions. They are going to feel your pain when they go through this life review. They are going to know how they have affected you, just as you will know with them. If you can integrate this, and I mean really take this into the heart of your very being, it will change the way that you live. You will think about everything that you say and do before you do it. You will start acting from a much higher place of love and compassion. If you integrate it, it is not enough to say, yeah, I know that. You have to truly feel it here. Now, I can tell you, out of the blue, a couple of times this has happened to me. I've had sections of my life where I have gone into a life review, and I spent a day or two in tears. And these were not major things. These were things that may have been said or done, which has hurt somebody else along the way. And I felt that amplified. And it really makes you think about who you are as a person, how you act, what you think, what you say, and the ripple effect that your actions cause on all of those around you. It is extremely powerful. So the life review will often lead to profound realizations. It shows you that love is the core lesson in every single lifetime and in everything that we do. Every action matters, even the ones that we might consider insignificant. Our thoughts and intentions shape our reality. It's not just about our physical deeds. Forgiveness and compassion frees us from karmic loops. These are the realizations. It shows us how important it is to bring harmony into our current relationships, to resolve things from our side. We are not separate. It shows us that we are, in fact, a part of an interconnected web of consciousness. We are our own judge and jury. Many who have had near-death experiences say this: I was shown that love is the only thing that matters. I was judging myself, not God. And yet I was deeply loved no matter what I saw. And that's powerful. So what happens next? So once this life review is completed, there's several paths that may unfold. And this is very dependent on your level of consciousness and lesson integration. The most typical process is the one that we're going to have a look at. Quite often, firstly, you'll have a resting phase in a peaceful astral realm to process and replenish. You will then meet with a team of guides or elders or spiritual mentors who offer insight into the life's outcomes, will highlight patterns that need attention, and offer loving, neutral guidance, not judgment. This is where you set your next path. You evaluate, for example, whether you learnt to forgive. Did you misuse power, or did you learn to wield it wisely? Did you move from victimhood to empowerment? And so on, and so on, and so on. Whatever it is that is pertinent to your journey is the things that you will evaluate at this point. So the outcome of these experiences sets the blueprint for your next incarnation and is co-created with those who will be in your life, which is typically your soul group. It's really important. Co-created. You create your experiences. You create them, co-create them with those who are in your life. Agreements are made at this point on who will play which role: mother, father, friend, foe. What experiences are going to be created to give you and all involved the best opportunity to learn the lesson that each of you decided. Think about that for a moment. You are literally, before you incarnate, setting up the lessons, your life lessons, and who is going to play the role in those lessons to give you the best opportunity to learn. You facilitate your life. So these soul agreements are woven into the subtle bodies and patterns of the subconscious, ready to unfold in time. Not all agreements are easy, and you and your loved ones will act sometimes as catalysts, creating hardship, but this is to accelerate your growth. This is what you co-created with your loved ones before you came in. You have all agreed to play your roles beautifully in this incarnation to give each other the best opportunity to learn. Think about that. You will choose the time, the place, and body of your next incarnation. Your geographical location, for instance, may be war-torn country so that you learn courage or compassion. Your family and ancestry choice may be to inherit specific patterned DNA. You may choose, for example, a lineage of abuse to break generational trauma. Your physical body will be chosen to experience a race, a gender, maybe even inherit a health challenge, or possibly gifts. Whatever the situation is, you choose it. You chose it. It could be based on astrological timing, which may be used to imprint the soul's chosen curriculum into your birth chart, assisting you to move along your soul evolutionary journey. But no matter what the circumstances are, you choose. If throughout your lifetime you don't learn from the circumstances that you co-created, your higher self, always in love, will go off again and co-create another situation to again present you with the best opportunity to learn the lesson that you came for. Quite often, this will present as a much bigger, more difficult lesson, but you always must remember that you co-created it. This is what you're here for. You always create these opportunities, but you always give yourself the answer. You always give yourself the opportunity to transcend this lesson, to integrate the knowledge, to understand, learn forgiveness, learn compassion, learn love, and learn to release. Your job is to learn to transcend the pain and integrate these lessons, to recognize that you and your co-creators are playing your roles perfectly, to work from a place of love and bring forgiveness and harmony to yourself and your relationships. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all relationships are going to work. It may mean that there is separation in family or in relationships or friendships. So long as you do your inner work with you, you still have the ability to transcend those karmic ties and to integrate the knowledge that you came here to do. And honestly, this planet is truly one of the best playgrounds for accelerated learning and knowledge integration. Once we fully integrate this, and you will know when you do, you look at life from a whole new perspective. Know that the only thing that you can do is work on yourself. Those who have played roles in your co-creation must also make their own choices on whether they learn or not. And whilst this can be painful, and quite often is, it is important to remember that you are the only person that you have control over. When you heal yourself in this current life, it will also heal all of the emotional karmic attachments from all of those past and future lives in that particular area. It will also heal a part of those involved. It may not change your circumstances, but this is where love and acceptance on your part must become your natural state. Remember, this life is a page in a long book, and each life brings with it the chance to grow. Know that each life is filled with deep compassion and brilliance of your soul's journey. And each life no matter how painful or beautiful, is filled always with meaning and with growth. So how do we heal all of this? So the first step to healing is to recognize that we're not just this personality or body, as most of you already know. You have an inner child, your subconscious, your conscious self, and your higher self. Each part of you communicates and influences each other. Do the work with your inner child. Open the dialogue. Begin to work with the traumas that you carry with your inner child. Find somebody, if it's deep trauma, that can do trauma work with you. Look at your repeating patterns, your emotional charges, and the limiting beliefs in your current life. What relationships trigger you deeply? What themes repeat themselves? Is it abandonment or betrayal, poverty, powerlessness, etc., etc.? Where do you feel stuck or blocked despite your best efforts? Have a look at all of those things. Be very conscious of your thoughts. Recognize when you are spiraling. Catch yourself out and remember that you co-created this situation so that you could learn. Begin to look at your co-creator as playing a role to give you the opportunity to learn. This in itself will begin to transmute your negative thoughts into ones of forgiveness, forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of your co-creators, until eventually you will get to that point where you are grateful for the roles that they have played. This process really is about doing the inner work. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix. So healing involves conscious thought, conscious forgiveness, not only towards others, but towards yourself. In the Huna tradition, there is a beautiful, beautiful prayer called the Ho'oponopono prayer. It says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. Say this prayer to your inner child, to your younger self, to your past life selves, and to others involved, even if it's mentally. Letter writing is another tool. Write to past lovers, enemies, abusers, or yourself. Put your feelings and your thoughts on paper, always finishing with love. Finish with the above prayer. It's a wonderful way to finish off a letter. You don't have to send it or even keep it, but just the action of writing out how you're feeling, how you think that you may be able to move past whatever it is that is holding you back, and then releasing it at the end is a very, very powerful tool to heal. You can do a sacred ceremony or meditation, declaring that you release any outdated vows, agreements, or karmic loops. You may need to do this many times until you start to feel a transition within you and you recognize your negative patterns falling away. Use that sacred space meditation from the second session to have conversations in your space. Do those conversations with you. Do it with your subconscious or your inner child. You can do it with your past lives. And you can certainly do that with your co-creators. Use that sacred space to unhook those etheric accords or karmic residue. Do these practices. They work and they help. I know because I've done them and I've seen the results. If you need to have a look at a specific past life, if it is affecting you today, seek out past life regression therapists. They can give you guided sessions, taking you into a relaxed state, exploring lifetimes linked to your current issues. Meditations can also unlock past life memories and karmic patterns. Modalities like Reiki or chakra therapy, quantum healing, can help you to dissolve stored trauma from past life incarnations, which is held in the physical body. There are massage therapists who specialize in trauma-specific physical body manifestations. Holographic kinetics is another tool to access memories, access agreements and attachments, and clearing them from your subtle bodies and from your subconscious. Once the healing has occurred, reprogram your inner child with healthier beliefs and patterns. And this can be done through affirmations and visualizations. Embody your healed self and take actions which align with your new higher vibration. Don't keep revisiting the past. Once you've healed, then move on, look forward. Don't sit in that lower vibrational state. You will take yourself back there. You will go back into the loop if you continue to allow yourself to do so. Once it's healed, release it and move on. Stay conscious and vigilant with yourself. Catch yourself if you're tending towards an old pattern. Change the thoughts before it takes a hold. Recognize the loop and stop it before it goes any further. I'll go through I've got one meditation and an affirmation, which I'll go through after we just finish this slide here. So in summary, you're not just a body or a name or a role. You are an eternal, radiant soul, a beautiful being of light who chose to come here, to feel, to grow, and to experience the richness of being human. Through the cycles of reincarnation, you have laughed, you have loved, you have fallen, you have risen, and most importantly, you have learned. You were never lost. You were never broken. You simply chose to forget so you could remember again from the heart. Every life, every lesson, every moment has brought you closer to remembering the truth of who you really are. And that truth is that you are divine, you are powerful, and you are whole. As you walk forward from here, walk with the grace of knowing you are a soul on a journey of growth, and you are doing beautifully. So that concludes our presentation this evening. So I'm just going to take you through now an affirmation and a meditation which will help you work through past life traumas and so forth. Can you see that, A Journey Back to You page? All right, so an affirmation we have for you today. I now lovingly release all past life pain, patterns, and attachments that no longer serve my highest good. I honor the wisdom gained through every experience, and I allow deep healing to flow through all time, space, and dimensions. I am free. I am whole. I move forward with love, light, and peace in my soul. Now, remembering when you do affirmations, you are reprogramming your subconscious, your inner child. Don't just read this once and let it go. Read it 3 times a day, 3 times a day. Whatever it takes, reprogram your belief systems and your patterns. We also included in here the sacred space meditation. For those of you that have, I'm not going to read this again, but it is there and it is on the Telegram page for you to go through. As I mentioned before, this is a powerful, powerful tool. This particular meditation is extremely powerful. Use it and use it wisely, remembering that you always finish in love. We have a meditation for healing past lives. Now, this is a meditation with a slight variation on it that my mum created, and it's beautiful. So finding your space, going into a relaxed state. In your mind's eye, see yourself standing in a beautiful open field or a place of your choosing under a soft golden sky. Ahead of you stretches a glowing path of golden orbs, each floating just above the earth. These orbs represent your past life, moments of experience, growth, and learning across time. As you gaze down the path, you notice that the orbs stretch far, far back, reaching all the way back to your original incarnation, your soul's first spark in human form. Take a moment to feel the beauty of this vision. So many lifetimes, so many stories, all leading to who you are now. Imagine a soft green healing light radiating out from your heart. This light is filled with compassion, love, and peace. Watch as the healing green light begins to flow through each orb, starting from your current life, then moving through each life orb, gently bathing every lifetime in loving, restorative energy. As the green light flows through, it dissolves pain, clears trauma, and releases old patterns. With each breath, you feel lighter and freer. Now call in a brilliant bright white light, radiant and pure. This light of divine consciousness is the light of truth and remembrance. It follows the green light, flowing all the way back to the very beginning of your soul's journey. Feel it illuminating every orb, bringing clarity, peace, and spiritual freedom. Sit for a few moments in the presence of this healing light and let yourself feel deeply connected across time, across lifetimes, right through to your eternal self. Gently watch as the golden orbs begin to move, slowly and lovingly merging into your current life. With each lifetime, it brings wisdom, its gifts, and its strengths into the present moment. Any pain, trauma, or karmic weight is left behind, dissolved by the green and the white light. You feel whole, empowered, and clear, and you are the culmination of all you have learned. You feel the freedom of all you have released. Seeing yourself now surrounded by a radiant golden light with all of your past lives integrated into you. This golden light is warm, loving, and protective and holds the vibration of unconditional love. So that's the meditation for healing of past lives, and I hope you give it a go. You may have to do it many times. You will have to do it many times. We have many lives, and they all affect us on many different levels. So that concludes the session for today. And I hope that brings clarity to a few things, not just of the reincarnation process, but what happens, and more importantly, the role that we play in our lives today, the role that us and our co-creators have laid out for our benefit and their benefit, to help us learn, to help us grow spiritually, and to help us evolve, eventually sitting in a constant state of love, of compassion, of harmony. When you integrate this knowledge, your life changes before your very eyes. It's almost like you didn't know the person that you were before. The people that surround you become more loving. You become more loving, more understanding. You have much more compassion. Those things that bothered you before no longer seem to irritate you, because you know that that is their journey, that that is their role. And sometimes relationships may fall away during this process, and sometimes they may strengthen. They may strengthen into a much more loving, companionable relationship, no matter what that is. So take these things on board. Do these exercises. Love you. Be kind to you. Love others and be kind to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is really good timing because we've been going down a process as a group for the last couple of weeks, very much understanding the importance of cutting those energetic ties. 2 weeks ago, we did a meditation on the Sunday night that revolved around cutting those energetic ties from family in particular, because we knew that if we were going to move forward to create a family office, or what we now call a sovereign office, if you wish, that you had to let go of the past and move forward afresh, knowing that you can create your projects and walk in harmony with your team not being burdened by any constraints of the past. So to that point, then Catherine Gorman and I created a series of cutting the cord meditations, and they work as you were saying. Oh, that now that's cutting the cords. That's cutting the cords. So yeah, we're very much in alignment with the whole concept of putting aside the past and letting go of what does not serve right now. So yeah, it was good timing tonight. It really was. It's great. With
Right.
that said, I know that Ed's had his hand up for the last 15 minutes, so he was pretty darn keen. He just wants to talk to Kim. I know it's about Kim. Ed, I know it's about, brother.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Kim, I got to say, I am just so I
Giddy.
just thank you. Ain't giddy. Well, I can go with giddy around the notion of this because I think oftentimes it's like this is a conversation you really don't have, but you bring, should I say, the region that it should be common, right? Because just listening, as you were speaking, and I, to some degree, even though I feel I do try to, walk, be mindful of my walk, how I handle people, I still felt a little guilt or a little, I guess, responsibility, in what you're expressing, and the idea that in our like what in our past lives can affect us now, and that kind of really kind of hit me there in the gut. Of, wow, I wonder what just kind of what you're dealing with in life, what you're kind of going through, but just even more to be mindful of a notion that they had we have a poet named Maya Angelou, and she says, uh, I don't remember exactly, but to the effect of a person may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. That they will remember.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I'm sitting here and I'm listening to to what you're saying, I think about that real deep, real heavy, and it really kind of what is it hit the heartstring as I think they would say.
Mm.
And I'm just for a moment of wow, just kind of being with that. So I just thank you for it, and I just enjoy what you bring when you do bring it. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ed. Ed, I really appreciate that. That's really beautiful. So thank you.
Rob.
Hi, Kim. Nice to be listening to you
Yeah,
again.
thank you.
Um, your session tonight about past life regressions and the fact that we shouldn't really know that what our past lives were because of how it would affect how we react in this life. Then it brought me to we get a past life regression, one that I've had, and I think I have a very similar experience to yourself. I carry a major head injury from a past life, and it was part of a lesson I had to learn in this life. I've no doubt had to learn it over past lives, but I know it was brought to my attention. So being are we therefore able to access past lives that will help us understand our journey, I'm thinking, and maybe even let us complete a journey of a particular lesson we're trying to learn, because each past life that I've been able to access has helped me either complete a journey or understand a journey I'm on.
Absolutely, Rob. You don't need to have a trauma or anything in particular to be able to access a past life.
No, I think it
Um,
was validation probably more than anything else that, hey,
yeah,
you've got this injury and this person didn't know that from a bar of soap, yet they brought that to me. So I knew damn well she was telling the truth.
absolutely. And sometimes, obviously, in the case of you and me, we need a good knock on the head to be able to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Right, to figure the lesson out. So sometimes it takes a harder lesson than others, but ultimately, yes, you can. You can access a past life which is having a current effect or which will help you understand some course of event that is occurring in your life now. when you actually reach a certain level of consciousness and you are able to access your Akashic record, for example,
Which I
then you will,
can, yes.
yeah. So when you reach a certain level of conscious development, then you can access all of them at any point in time whenever you like.
Okay.
So but that's your spiritual evolution to get to that point where you're in a space that you can do it. And the reason that you'll be able to do it at that point in time is because you have resolved all of the karmic ties. You've resolved the emotions that are associated with all of those events, past, present, or future. And they're not going to have that deep traumatic impact on you in this life, which can invariably set you back.
Oh, it did, big time. Up until the
Yeah,
age of 60 before I was able to resolve these issues. And it was brought to me multiple times,
as we all
which my
find.
wife can attest to.
Yep. And quite often, I bet most of you on here will look at your life and you'll see that you've repeated patterns until you've got to the point where it's like, oh, of course. Why didn't I know? Or didn't I realize this sooner? Why didn't I sort this out sooner? And once you do recognize that and you recognize the repeated patterns, then you are able to resolve not just the karmic ties, but the emotional ties that go with it. And those particular patterns are now transcended. You may find in within that process that you will get thrown another curveball of the same type just to test. So it's like you'll test yourself to make sure you haven't got any residual stuff hanging on there. But if you have dealt with it, you will recognize that for what it is, and it won't impact you. And it won't even carry on to its full fruition because you know what it's about. You've seen it, you know it, you've moved on from it, and you don't invite it into your life anymore. But yes, the answer is yes, you can access whatever life it is. And sometimes, the past life regression therapist may be the best person to lead you there if you have difficulty doing that yourself.
No, I've since then learned to do past growth healings on other people, which I now do on a regular basis, have been doing on a regular basis, and the information just keeps coming to me. It just flows over me like an ocean.
Yeah, great. That's great, Rob. Really good to hear.
Thank you. It was a beautiful session, Tim. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Yavi.
Greetings, everybody.
Hi, Yavi.
Yes, I love this topic, a journey to me. I grew up to see some of my father's actions. My father was a truck driver, and he is very generous. And because he likes to help people, anybody that is in trouble or that has problem, he want to help him, but he's not taking care of his own life, or he's not planning for his own. That is, he doesn't care for his own future, provided that the other person is taken care of. And at the end of the day, he had serious problem towards the end of his life because he cannot take care of himself and nobody comes to his aid. And I'm trying to view that behavior in me some years back. And that one made me to fall into serious problem. And when I was down, or when I fell down, I asked myself, what is the problem? At the end of the day, I told my creator that I understood that when he opens the gates for me, or when he opens a way for me, these are the guidelines that I will put for myself in order not to fall into the trouble. Now, some of the guideline is to say no to some people that are around me. Now I have two questions. The spirits that used to lead my dads in the past, is it the same spirit that is leading me, saying that maybe it's a generational lesson that we're supposed to learn and is leading us to this, helping anybody, even though we have to suffer? That is the first question. The second question is saying no to somebody that is in need, not to everybody, to somebody that is in need, knowing that is a positive action, but trying to focus on myself first. Is it a bad action? Because I want to avoid what happened to my dad, as I started to experience something like what he experienced in the past. So I want to put a stop to that thing that happened to my dad. So these are my two questions.
Okay, no problems. So firstly, we each have our own guardian angel, for want of a better word, our own spirit guides, each of us individually. Now, sometimes they may work together with those of us in our soul group, but what you're finding there is that by asking for guidance in recognizing those patterns that you were starting to exhibit in the same manner as your father means that you have opened your heart, giving yourself the answers that you needed to avoid those situations. You are accessing that higher part of you. You are accessing those memories or the karmic ties or the emotional bonds there and recognizing what they are. So in order for you to navigate around that and not integrate those particular types of behaviors into your own life, which is a beautiful thing. So your dad, by doing what he has done, has given you the opportunity to see that. And although that you may have started to follow those same patterns, you were able to recognize at an early enough stage. And the second part of your question is it a bad thing? No, it is not, Yavi. There is always someone in need. There is a never-ending line of people in need. You have to take care of yourself. The most important thing that we can do, the most important journey that any of us can do at this point in time, and particularly right now, is to do our own inner work. And if that means that saying no to someone in need is part of you releasing your karmic blueprint in order for you to evolve and move forward, then that is what you must do. It is not that you are doing a disservice to the other person. You can always offer guidance to someone, but ultimately they have to walk their own path. They have to figure their own solutions. They have to actually start to do their own work so that they know how to fix the situations that they are going through. And that may mean giving guidance or love or compassion. But ultimately, you must put yourself first. It's like caring for someone who is sick. If you get sick yourself, you can't care for that person anymore. It is the same on a spiritual level. You have to get yourself right. You can help others along the way should you want to, or the situation arises. But ultimately, this is what matters right now. With this, then comes service to others. And that increases. The more that you get this right, the greater the service to others becomes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I understand.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
That's really good. Rose.
Hi, Kim. Rose here.
Hi, Rose.
Rob's on the hearth. I thought I'd like to share a bit of what I call a story. And the
Great.
story goes like this. Rob and I have always been keen on boating. We had a boat parked on a mooring, no, not a mooring, on a buoy, no, don't correct that, on a mooring about 100 metres from the pier. Rob would love to row out, and he'd say to me, I'll come and get you, and I'll row you out. Somehow I always found a reason not to quite get in that dinghy. I'd happily step in the boat if he pulled the boat alongside me, but me and that dinghy just didn't quite connect. And that we had that probably a couple of years when it was fully functional. I'm away at a person's house, and he's done the same training Rob has for past life regressions and past life healing. And for some reason, this person turns around and says to me, do you realize that in a past life, you were in a dinghy and with probably 10 other people, and you were tipped out of that dinghy? You didn't die. I thought, that's why I'm hesitant about getting in that dinghy. That's come through for me to meet the challenge.
Amazing how things unfold sometimes, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, very, very much so. So I want to share it on the basis that if people have a hesitancy about something, not to be critical, but just wait. The universe will send you the answer if you're open to receiving it. The other thing I'd like to say is I have a phrase that I work with. The universe always balances the equation. And I've used that on several occasions, but the key thing is not to chase the answer. The universe will show you when that equation has been balanced. You'll read something, you'll hear something, someone will tell you something, and that all ties back into a situation where you felt in a situation that you did not have a fair go for whatever reason of that, and then you'll hear back like just over and over. I've seen it come through and through. So yeah, in that scenario, that is something I just work by. And going back to Rob's comments, we found out actually that we've both travelled a lot of lifetimes together, and his head injury goes back to Viking days, but apparently I also walked through that lifetime with him as his life partner at the time. So
Amazing.
we're going back over 1,000 years, 1,500 years or whatever. But it's interesting that they've left it till this lifetime for Rob to revisit the issue that was tied to the head injury, and he was to deal with it 1,500 years later.
It's quite incredible.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite incredible. It's really, really amazing. And the intricacies that we weave through all of our lives and so forth. It's when you actually start to have a look at it and it unfolds before your eyes, it's almost mind-blowing. It becomes that incredible. And coincidences. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I was totally, probably Rob had that past life regression probably done, where is it now, probably 20 years ago, but that part where I was involved in that journey at that time has only come to me in the last 10 years.
Yeah. And I can tell you coincidences, and I say that in inverted commas, things happening, synchronicities are becoming more frequent and are occurring much, much quicker. Also, validation of some of the things that you experience is becoming a lot more profound and pronounced as well. I recently had this year it was actually, I saw a past life, and it was actually validated by a completely external source that I didn't speak to, but through some information that had been put out of the exact same thing that I had seen in this particular past life. It was really quite incredible, and that was information that came out around the Bajechi Mountains and the things that were involved in that. So really magical moments are happening continuously with unfolding of these current life events, past life events. So amazing journey we're on.
And shall we say, I find it very encouraging when you know that everything you're doing is linked to help. Like another, do you know Deb Weber? Based
No.
in, I very, very talented spiritual person, will do amazing readings, etc., based out the back of Noosa. She talked about lives being in one lifetime you're a prisoner, the next lifetime you are the prison guard, and this in one lifetime you're the poor and hungry, in the next lifetime you experience wealth. But how do you cross the divide between? You get empathy. The Buddhist religion teaches you do at least 80 lifetimes to progress to enlightenment or things like that. So there's so much information, and when you can take it on board step by step, and Rob, I'd like to turn around and say get validation, because I certainly didn't expect to turn around and be told that I was in that biking time with Rob. But okay, it explains why I have to do it now with him as well.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks, Rose.
Rob, mate, you're up nice and early, mate. What time's it there?
It is 3:55 a.m. Bright
There
and
you
early.
go. Bright and early.
Look at your background.
Yes, thank you so much. That had a lot of meaning for me. And actually, I'm laughing. I just sent a message over to Yavi because the second question was basically he was asking without realizing it, maybe, or maybe he planned it. But for me, in my whole, so we work together on one of my humanitarian projects, which is sharing the gift of moringa oleifera, the tree, throughout. And we are now in 9 countries where we're teaching people to find it locally and harvest it and feed the orphans that they have. They're hungry. It's a beautiful, it just is a wonderful project, but it's so ironic. And that's okay. I look forward to our conversation tomorrow. um, but anyway, so it turns out the very first guy who found moringa, I had 5,000 friends on Facebook. I said, go find the moringa. This was 3 years ago. And the first guy to do it was in right below Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. And I've come to love him as a brother. And he's also my biggest antagonist and biggest challenge, throughout the last 3 years. And literally 3 nights ago, I blocked him on WhatsApp along with 2 other of his compadres there. It turns out they were an attachment to my energetic body in a negative way. And they had an alcohol problem. And every time they would do alcohol, I was getting zapped. And every time they got back to meditation, especially him, it was beautiful. And I kept being generous all this time. And I really do love him. And I really have separated from him. And I feel so much better. And this was the lesson I needed to learn, to be able to say, I want to help you, but I can't do it anymore. I've got to cut the ties there, Ronnie. All in the timing. So thank you, Kim. It was just really beautiful. And it's amazing how these things work out. So I'm just so grateful.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And thank you for sharing that. That's really lovely.
It's interesting. I'm like sometimes you if you feel compelled to help someone, but you also feel that they're just taking advantage of you and not wanting to do the work themselves. They'll just take. So you really got to be careful as to how you use your energy, because it can be quite draining sometimes. And I think that's what Robert experienced.
And it's tricky
Absolutely.
being a humanitarian where you want to be generous, but at the
Yeah.
same time, there needs to be some reciprocation. And he was a project that I was attempting to mentor through it, and it just became a point where I've got to realize it's his work, not mine.
And but also too, from your point of view, you move forward and you don't look back, no guilt. You just move forward in love.
That's what this prayer is so good for. I
Mm.
look forward to emailing it to him and just letting him know that
Mm.
this is exactly how I feel. This ho'oponopono. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Mm.
Thanks, mate. Okay, BJ.
Kim, this may be a little bit off topic, but before
Wouldn't be the
my
first time.
husband, sorry, before my husband died, I soul connection. I asked him I asked for him to wait on the other side for us to be together on the other side to then come back again together. And it was brought to my attention a couple of months ago that by doing that, I was stopping his soul's journey. And it took a lot for me to release him from that promise, because I felt that in some way I was turning my back on him. I know I wasn't, but it was a really difficult thing for me to do. But I just wanted to ask if you've got any insight in terms of, can a promise like that stop a person from continuing their soul journey, or is it you will continue your soul journey in a different way? Or
You will invariably you will continue your soul journey. So the funny thing about energy, which is what we all are, is that it needs movement. We need movement. Source needs movement, because without movement, everything is stagnant, and with stagnation is death. So movement must occur, and a soul's journey must occur. What that will do will create a karmic tie or a karmic bond to you, for you to break. And it sounds like you've been doing the work to break that. So
yeah,
he will continue on his journey, and there may be that part of him that takes that into consideration. But ultimately, your dependency on that, which is what, if you take that step back out and look at it objectively, that intense, immense desire to want to have that carry on with that person is almost like a dependency on that person, will create a karmic emotional bond that you have to work through. So by you actually doing that and releasing it in this lifetime, it means that you shouldn't need to go through that again. Invariably, if you return to this planet, you will most likely return together. It may not be in the same sort of relationship that you had with your husband. You may very well have role reversals, or in a different situation, you might be friends, or you might be lovers, you might be mother daughter, or whatever that looks like at the end of the day. So he will still progress on his journey, but you breaking those bonds will release both of you, though, which is a really good thing that you've done.
Yeah, I just my intent was never to keep him from his journey. Just sorry.
It's okay. It's a very, very difficult thing to go through. I understand.
Thank you.
No problems.
Okay. Anybody else with a question, thought, comment? Corbus.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Corbus.
Hi. I hope this broadband stays broad enough so that I can do this. It's a bit scratchy, but just with regards to the previous one about waiting for people, I think what we must remember, time doesn't really exist. It's an artificial overlay, it's an artificial construct. And I don't want to go into my own experiences because it's like a long story, but what I did with my own NDE, I saw all my past lives and all my future lives at the same time, in a moment. and I went through all the layers of consciousness that can exist, through all the layers of religion, and way through before time was created, and connected with Source, where I was fixed up, panel beaten, renewed, and left. And I could stay there forever. It was the nicest feeling I've ever had. I could stay there permanently, forever, or I could come back. But knowing that if I come back, I have to live in this physical reality all my future lifetimes that I ever still want to live. I've got to outlive them in this current lifetime. You don't have to die, get reborn, come back again, die, reborn, come back again. That's like, nah, doesn't have to be that way. You can live a new life tomorrow with a new job, a new partner, a new lifestyle, a new religion, whatever you want to do. You can live all the lifetimes you want to live right now, and you can change it any way you want to, because it's your choice. And it was interesting to me when I got to that point where they told me I can stay or I can come back. What they did tell me, it makes no difference. The end result is the same, except that by coming back, you'll have the experience, and by not coming back, you'll have the outcome, but without the experience. So I just to come back. But there was no time. There was no timeline as in before, after this, after that, whatever. It all happened in one single moment. Okay.
That's a beautiful experience, Corvus, and you're 100% right. I think most of us look, there's a couple of things, most of us look at time as linear, so it's easier for us to imagine that timeline going out backwards or forwards. But in fact, and we will cover this in a session on time and other things, time is like a circle. And when you have different lifetimes in there, each of those lifetimes exists at the same time within that same circle. And that's how time is when there is no time, if you like. It gets a bit confusing, but only 3D realities actually operate on time as we know it here, where we think of the past and we think of the future. And some people like you, Corvus, have that instantaneous moment of where everything is simultaneously there at the same time. For others, it's an extended period of time. I know with the experience that my dad had, which he was also connected to Source, and it was over a period of about 20 or so minutes, and that it happened where everything in that space was of no time, but it was everything that rolled out in front of him, all like so many different things, and understanding of all things esoteric, if you like. And then it's sort of all rolling back in, but he never lost any of that information, any of that knowledge. That all integrated into him when he came out of it. But in our time reality, it lasted for about 20 minutes. So I guess for different people, there are different experiences. And it is what you were talking about there, whether the outcome is always the same. It's just the experience. And the experience of living through all of these things. And for most people, having that gradual integration of knowledge means that you then get to expand your consciousness with love, with compassion, and bring harmony into not just your life, but all of those that you are co-creating with. So, and I thank goodness that you chose to experience this, because I'm so blessed to have you in my life.
Kim, thanks. And also, what we often forget is that the fact of matter coming into the picture, the physical reality that surrounds us right now, that we're part of, that slows everything down in vibrational. And that's the densest form of existence, is where we are right now, is the lowest form of vibration. So the moment the consciousness goes up and speeds up, the matter thing collapses and the time collapses.
That's right. Thank you for sharing that story.
I think at this point in time, what I might do is just leave the recording there. So thank you for everyone who's listening, and we'll see you guys on the next call.